so that they don't drop out and so that they wind up graduating with all the skills that they need to go on and be successful.
Sure. Now I'm thinking too that the disability piece can also be addressed at the charter school level.
Absolutely. Charter schools for kids with certain, even just certain disabilities, not just all disabilities or all disabilities.
Sure.
The flexibility is enormous.
Right, right. That's great. Did you want to share with us some of your statistics that you brought with us today?
Yeah, it's interesting. I did. I brought you this survey, and it's the most comprehensive survey on educational choice ever done in the state of Montana. The Montana Family Foundation partnered with the Friedman Foundation for Excellence in Education a few years ago, and most of the surveys that you see out there, like in the Helena IR, have a sample size of about 600. That gives them a good solid survey. The sample size in this survey was 1,200. And what we looked at was these were all people likely to vote, registered voters likely to vote. And when we looked at, when we asked them lots of different questions just to find out if the people in the state were even interested in school choice, if that was something that they wanted to do. 90% of the respondents said that given a choice of options, 90% said that they would choose something other than a traditional public school if they had, if they could send their child anywhere that they wanted to. And so 38% said private schools, 28% said charter schools, and we don't even have charter schools in Montana.
Right, right.
18% said homeschooling, 10% said traditional public schools, and then 5% said virtual schools. And virtual schools are really gaining popularity, and now that number would probably be even higher than it is.
Can we talk a little bit about the virtual school? I've heard of the Khan Academy. Is that one of the ones
it
that falls into that category?
Yes.
Can you explain a little bit how that works?
Yeah. We actually, the Montana Office of Public Instruction saw that this was a trend, and so the legislature, I think 2 sessions ago, created the legislation necessary for us to have a statewide virtual system. And so now kids in remote parts of Montana can get online and take a class that they might not be able to take in their normal classroom. If you're living in Ekalaka and you need physics, it might be a little bit of a challenge if you just have a few kids in the classroom to get a really good physics teacher.
Okay.
And so what this does is it allows one teacher to teach kids across the entire state at one time. And so that's the way the Montana Digital Academy works. Now you can't go strictly to the Digital Academy and graduate. There's not enough course selection there. But it does allow students to fill in the gaps.
Sure. Do you have to live in a remote area to access that, or is that for anyone?
Don't. No.
Okay.
Say that your high school in Billings doesn't offer Latin anymore for some reason, and you're going to go you want to be a doctor. Latin is huge if you want to go into the biomedical sciences field, including a doctor. And so say you want to take Latin instead of Spanish or something, you could go online, even in a big city like Billings, and take something like Latin. And not necessarily just from a teacher in Montana, but from a teacher worldwide. Imagine taking physics from somebody that works for the Jet Propulsion Lab in Pasadena and is literally a rocket scientist. And those are the options that are available now using virtual technology.
Okay. Is there a specific number of credits that you're allowed to transfer in, or is it that defined yet?
There's a certain number of credits that you're allowed to take in Montana from the Montana Virtual Academy, the Digital Academy.
Okay.
But when you go out and online, and lots of homeschool kids use this, and lots of public school kids use online resources, there's no limit there. You can go out and take as many as you want.
Now, are those websites linked through your website that people might be able to access those? Because I'll put them on mine as well so that people can understand what we're talking about. We've got the Khan Academy. What are some of the others?
Well, there's lots and lots of there's different ones. The Khan Academy that you keep talking about is the one that's got the most notoriety right now.
Okay.
And it's an amazingly complex website that's easy to use, and it allows a student to take everything from 1 + 1 = 2 in math clear up through vector calculus with no gaps and go at their own pace. And it teaches kids on the computer, online, the way they're used to interacting anyway, and so they tend to do really well.
That's pretty exciting.
It is.
It is. So for the students that are going to stay within the public school system,
yes,
because even when we get these choices available, there'll still be a large number of students that are doing well in the mainstream situation.
Yes.
How can we improve the actual school performance? because truly, I don't think we're up to speed.
Right. Well, you mentioned that you're from Arizona. Arizona is bells and whistles. I mean, it has everything you ever wanted in terms of school choice. And they've had that for 15 or 20 years now. And still, after all that being in place, 80% of the kids still go to public school. And so we can't fix education in the United States if we don't fix the public schools as well. It's important. And so one of the things that we can do to fix the public schools, they're doing in Florida, it's easy. We assign a letter grade based on test scores to the kids in the school, or to the school based on the kids' test scores. And so you either go to an A school, B, C, D, or F. And when we give out these test scores, parents are sitting on the edge of their chairs because they want to know what their child's school ranks in terms of scores. And when you have your child's school getting a D or F, the parents go through the roof. And so the impetus for change comes from within, not from without. And we're seeing huge progress in states like Florida, where Florida now has students in traditionally underperforming Hispanic schools that have now moved within 5 or 6 years up to the point where they're outperforming kids in Bel Air, California.
Wow. Wow.
Good stuff.
That is great. That is great. Okay, we have about 5 minutes left in our show today. We've given out a lot of information, and it's such an exciting topic. Anything else you want to touch upon today?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, the arguments that you're going to get against school choice if you talk to legislators. And one of them will be, our schools are underfunded now, and how can we possibly have other schools starting up? Isn't that just going to strip needed dollars away from our existing public schools? I would argue that that's a misnomer. As a former legislator, I understand, and this is key, understand this. When you look at the entire state budget for Montana, 50% or a little more of that money goes to schools. 50%. The second biggest budget category is Health and Human Services, which is welfare. That's about 20%. And the third largest budget category is prisons at about 7%. And so when you look at that, and the rest of school funding, or the rest of state funding, comes out of the remaining 20% of the entire budget. So it's hard to make the argument that schools are underfunded. I think we're just not, and schools are under-accountable is what they are. And I think that there's teachers out there that need to be paid a whole lot more than they're being paid, and there's teachers out there, frankly, that need to be fired. And as soon as we get a handle on those types of things, we can improve the public schools. And but I think choice is going to be a key in there, because we have to find venues that work for kids.
Sure, sure. Now, what can our viewers do? We're hearing all of this. I'm hearing some things for the first time, some things I'm already familiar with, but we want to help. So what do they do? Absolutely. Well, the thing to remember, and this is key, is in our survey, 90% of the people out there said that they wanted school choice and would send their kids to somewhere other than a traditional public school. However, 93% of people in the state send their kids to a traditional public school. So there's a disconnect there. Okay. And so what we need to do is we need to get the legislature on board to create the legislation necessary to bring school choice into the state. That's the big thing. And we made huge gains 2 sessions ago, and even greater gains in the past session. And I have legislators now telling me this is the session it's going to happen. And so we need people to get on the phone, call their legislators, and say, we want more choices for our kids. Okay. That's what we need to do. We need to get on the phone. We need to call our legislatures. We need to promote options and choices and be passionate about our children and about their educations. Jeff, thank you so much for being with us today. We're just really thrilled to have you and really appreciate all of the work that you're doing. It's just wonderful. I know the amount of energy and the time and your devotion to this, and we all appreciate it very much. Well, thank you, Jan. It's been my pleasure.